So the great thing is you've created your work and it's out there. And the big looming question that for most people is, yeah, well, now I've created it, I've made it, I've put it out there. What's next? A brand is essentially the persona of your business. So hello, everyone. I'm Sandy. I am the founder of Brandify HQ, and I'm on a mission to help heart-centered entrepreneurs and creatives play a bigger game and get their work out in the world on a larger scale by using professional branding, strategy, and website design. And the reason that I am so passionate about this is because personally, as an artist, I just know how important it is to create, and then to share it is a gift to the world. And I think that that is really what the world needs more of, more people creating, sharing, and creating connection through our work. And so I'm happy to be here today to support you with any brand strategy questions you may have or website design questions. Just a little about my experience. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've worked in tech in Silicon Valley, and then I started my own business, and my current roster of clients are AI tech companies. I have some high-level coaches, an architect, but like I said, my heart lies in helping people who just really want to create, share, connect, or they have a heart-driven purpose or mission. So first of all, I want to say a huge congratulations for birthing your babies, or maybe you're still in process, but that is huge and phenomenal. So I just want to celebrate all of you. Yeah. So the great thing is you've created your work and it's out there. And the big looming question that for most people is, yeah, well, now I've created it, I've made it, I've put it out there. What's next? A brand is essentially the persona of your business. So people connect with people, right? So and you guys, if you're authors and you've created a book, you are now doing double duty. You have that creative author side, and now you're also a business person. You're in business. You want to sell your books, I assume. Yes? You want to make some sales? Yeah. So our whole thing is we want to create connection. So in order to create that connection, it really helps to give your business a persona in which people can think about it. So when you're thinking about your business, you can think about, okay, so what's the personality of my business? What do I want people to say about working with me or working with my business after they've experienced working with me? How do I want them to describe me and my business to my friends? So for example, for those of you who are children's book authors, if someone reads your book, a mom and a child, you can ask yourself, what do I want that kid or child to say about my book when they're talking about it on the playground to their friends? Or if it's the parent who's read the book to the child, what do I want the parent to say when they're talking to their other parent friends about my book? What do I want them to think of as the experience that they felt when they were reading my book and experiencing that sense of like deep connection with their child? So then this is the foundation of your brand, right? You're thinking about what is it that you want people to say about your business? What is your reputation? What is your personality? So you can think of this as the essence of your brand. Now, your brand visual identity is like dressing up your brand in clothes. So, for example, when you get dressed in the morning, what are your go-to clothes, right? What are your favorite colors? How do you accessorize yourself? The colors we choose, the fonts we choose, the images, and the graphics all tell the story of your brand. And they communicate your brand's personality, your brand's vibe, and core values. You have your foundation of your brand, then you have your brand visuals that visually communicate and convey the essence and purpose of your brand. Then you're going to have your brand messaging. This is what you write. And the secret here, again, is to think about what is it that you want the style of your writing to match your brand. So if you are writing books that are technical, like maybe medical illustration or something like that, you're going to have a more technical tone in your writing. If you're writing and your main audience are parents and children, I mean, you might think, oh, I'm a children's book author. Yes, you are. However, the people who are buying your books are going to be the parents, the caregivers, the teachers, and the librarians. So you're writing for that audience. So the secret to creating a really powerful brand, one that works for you and not against you, whether or not you've thoughtfully put time and energy into choosing your colors and your fonts and your images, or you just haphazardly put it together. Every business has a brand, whether they know it or not, whether they like thoughtfully and intentionally created it, or it just happened by accident. So the goal to have a brand that works for you is to first get very crystal clear on what is the purpose of my business. So you're going to get clear on your business. Okay. And the overall essence, like I mentioned before, it's like, what is my brand's personality? What is my brand all about? What are my core values? What do I take a stand for? Why am I so passionate about what I do? This is the essence and purpose of your business. The second area to consider is what you are actually selling or how you are helping people. So in your case, you're authors and you're selling books, for example, children's books. And going beyond just the book, you are also selling a lot more than just a book, right? And we'll dive into that next. But you're selling a book to children. The third area to consider is, who is my ideal client? Who is your target audience? So I want to be really clear here. When you sit down to write your book, you are writing to like speak to the heart and soul and connect with the child, right? That is the artist in you. That is the creator. You are creating connection with that child. Now, the business, the brand is creating connection with the people who are buying the books. And also, I'll show you a website, just a mock-up I made, but you also want to make sure that you include things in your business marketing materials that are geared toward the children, because the children's engagement is going to drive a lot of the parents' happiness with your book and product and experience, right? So the three things are, you have your business, essence, and purpose of your business, right? Then you have your product and your book and the industry sector you're in. And then you have your ideal client or your ideal audience. Now, the brand magic happens at the intersection of the three. So it's where the interests of all three come together. And that is the area that we want to consciously, with awareness and intention, create your brand from. That is the foundation. Now, in my program, and when I work with my clients, we take it a step further, because in any business class, you're going to learn about the importance of understanding your clarity of your business, your ICA, your ideal client avatar, and your product. When it comes to branding and website design and marketing, though, you need to answer another question in order for it to be effective. And that is, how does my brand and the benefits of my brand play out in my clients' lives? So, for example, if you're a children's book author, one way this could play out in your clients' lives, you've just produced a book or created a book and it's been published. The parents buy it and they sit down and read it with their kids. So the way that this experience is playing out in their lives is bedtime, story time. It's creating that intimate time together with their child. Do you understand what I mean? So when we are creating your website and your marketing materials and the content that you write and the freebies you give away, we want to make sure that it is lining up with that answer to that question. I'm just throwing out a sample answer, but later on tonight, after we get off, just really think about that. Where is the magic happening in my clients' lives after they read my book or they are with their child. Like, imagine, like, what are the main things that I want my clients to take away from this experience? Some other examples could be, I know for for parents, because I'm a parent, although my kids are older, but I remember those early years so well. And it was the magic time in the day. It was like the thing I looked forward to so much because my kids have a lot of energy. They're bouncing off the walls. And I would look forward so much to story time when we would all cuddle in and get out the book and then read. They're quiet and they're cuddly and we're all reading the story. And the kids like would memorize the story and like pretend that they were reading along with me, but really Taylor just like memorized it audibly. And these, like for me as a parent and my kids too, these are lifetime memories, right? Like this is creating this foundation of whatever craziness happened that day, whatever tantrums they threw. 20, 30 years from now, when we look back at our time together, they're going to remember story time. Think about your brand in these ways. Like, what are the experiences that parents and kids, like, what do I want them to have with my book? And then you can write to those things and speak to those things and create content for those things specifically. And I have to say, my husband's in Costa Rica right now, which I know sounds odd about what I'm about to say next, but I'm so happy to have this week to myself. I have just like sat down. I just love to go into the creative zone for hours and hours and hours. And I spent my weekend deep diving into authorship and marketing and looking at websites for authors. Okay, so I have good news for you. Any of you who consciously put together a brand strategy and marketing strategy with a website as your hub, oh my gosh, you are going to just like go up here, like miles above your competition, because 99.9% of the author websites out there, I don't think they had, they're bad. Okay. I'm so sorry. And it's okay. It's okay. And if you have a website that you're not proud of, guess what? It's okay, because you got to start somewhere. But now that you have this information, let's dial it in. And once you have it dialed in, you're going to really stand out above the competition by light years, because your brand and website and the content you create is going to be created with the intention of, in addition, that intersection of the three, plus thinking about that brand magic question: how does my brand play out in my clients' lives? The other thing is, you always want to think about your client and adding value, right? And this is where I see the websites and brands totally missing the mark. Okay, first of all, design is important. You need to have a beautiful brand, because I wish I had the statistics in front of me. I'm not good with memorizing numbers, but it is phenomenally high. It's like 75% of people judge the legitimacy and competency of a business based on their brand design and visuals. Then Google ran a study and they found that within less than half a second, people make a snap judgment when they land on your website or social media based only on the design, not reading anything, just half second, whether or not they're going to stay and learn more or click off. So we need to make sure your brands and websites are beautifully designed, because otherwise you're losing all this potential business because they're just clicking off. And it has nothing to do with your book, and it has nothing to do with the copy on your website. It's just simply because they didn't like the look of your and design of your website. So the reason I bring this up is because nothing breaks my heart more than, because I also work with a lot of visual artists, when they feel like, oh my gosh, nobody's buying my work, I must stink, like I'm going to give up. And it's not the case at all. Like, It's a matter of like separating yourself from being the artist and being the business person and looking at your brand and website and the content you create with a critical eye and knowing this has nothing to do with my art. This is simply business. So after you have your brand designed, your website beautifully laid out, you need to create content for it. Now, what kind of content do you want to create? Because your clients, again, you are twofold. You have the children for most of you, and then you also have the parents, the librarians, and the school teachers and bookstore owners, right? So when you design your website, it could be really tempting to make your website a carbon copy of your book or like super bright and with tons of colors and things. However, with people in general, usually it's better to like keep your color palette more minimal and keep things more professional looking instead of like kiddie oriented. You know what I mean? So you can have a page on your website designed for kids that is like more kiddie oriented, but the rest is it should present your books in a professional manner that will create legitimacy for you as authors, right? Does that make sense?
It does. And I think one of the things you mentioned, it really makes me think when we first get started with, trying to get the word out about our books. I mean, I know I wasn't thinking about how I want people to feel about me, my brand. When you add all of those kind of layers, to me, I think it eases the burden because now you know what your goal is of what you want to do. And I think it makes it easier to figure out what kind of content to create.
Oh, once you are clear on what your goal is, oh my gosh, it's going to make your lives so much easier. So for example, freebies, right? Everybody wants to grow their email list. You want to nurture our audience. So they come to your website, they buy your book, and they also have a chance to sign up for your newsletter, where in exchange for giving them your email, you give them some kind of irresistible free offer. And what I saw on so many websites is that people are giving away free chapters or free books. And personally, as an artist, I mean, that's fine. You can give them a little sample. But if the person has already purchased your book or they're thinking about buying it, so for the people who are thinking about buying it, I think that usually they get a preview. I would not give away your art for free. I mean, you could give away like a little mini chapter maybe, but so think about like what would be valuable to my audience. So if you have an audience of parents and they're opting in, they might like, I know April does this. She has like coloring sheets. So you might have like one or two available for free on your website, but maybe you put a couple of them together and like a little word find or a maze, and you bundle that up as like the kids kit for the book. And then when they give you their email, they can get access to that. The other thing is parents, especially these days, are really stressed out and they want to be able to give their kids an activity that they can do that they don't need to like be there the whole entire time for. So like those kinds of things will be helpful. So in your content, you can say like, get 15 minutes of peace and quiet. Download the free coloring sheet that goes with the book. And then in addition, the other thing parents want is they want to know that, okay, I'm just going to tell you from my own parent perspective. So it's a little bit of market research for you. I'm sure you already know this, though. I'm just going to say it anyway. One, we live in the age of screens. Nothing is sadder than seeing a baby in a stroller with an iPad. It is so sad. And all educated parents know that that is bad. However, they get into this quandary of, oh my gosh, like I said, I need 15 minutes of a break. So that's where those coloring books are going to come in. They can give it to them, have some peace, and their kids are not on a device. So you could write to that in your blog posts or in your newsletters. Like, hey, I know how hard it is to be a parent in the modern age, and you want your kids to have activities to do that don't involve screens. That's why I created this special download just for you. So do you see how really like getting into the minds of your ideal clients, thinking about what are their fears? They're stressed out that they're giving their kids too much screen time. What are their hopes? What are they struggling with? They're struggling with, God, can I just have 15 minutes, please? What are their hopes, dreams, and desires? They want to have good relationships with their kids. They want to have create memories with their kids that will last a lifetime, these endearing, loving memories. They want to have cuddly time with their kids. They want to have high quality time with their kids. Your books do this. So use all of this to help you write content, like in your testimonials. Like if you give it to a couple of friends, right? The book to read to a couple of friends and they write a testimonial for you. You could ask them would you mind doing a video testimonial with your child? And the parent and child could say, we love reading this book every night at nighttime and I get to cuddle with my mommy. See how this is already like setting you light years above the competition who's like, oh, download my free chapter. So it's about really understanding your ideal client and then leading from a place of heart, wanting to give value. So the thing that I saw with the websites that I was evaluating is that was the number one thing missing from them. Their websites were all about promoting their books. Their blogs were all about promoting their books. It was like, hey, I'm going to be at this bookshop on this date. Come see me. Hey, I'm releasing a new book. Come check it out. That is not what you want. People do not need to be sold another thing, and they do not want to get newsletters talking about what you're selling. They don't want to read blog posts about it. So just think about like, what would make my ideal client's life better? What would add value to it? You know what I mean? And it's perfectly fine to promote your book in your newsletters and in your blog posts. It's just that it needs to be balanced out, like 10 pieces of valuable content, one book promotion, 10 pieces of valuable content, another promotion. If you're promoting your book, first of all, hats off to you, because a lot of artists have a hard time marketing and putting themselves out there like that. And if you're doing it, I applaud you. It's just next we need to also create valuable content so that it builds this relationship where you're turning these one-time buyers into raving super fans that are going to talk about you and your books to all their friends, to their teachers at school, to the librarians, to everyone they know. So that's the goal of your brand and website, is to create this deep connection with your ideal clients. Another thing that parents want, I know at least I did, it was like, there's so much research out there talking about how valuable reading is, like children who read books. It helps so much with their brain development. And it's, I think, somewhere I remember, I would recommend you guys all research this. But when my kids were younger, I was researching the number one thing I could do to help my children be academically successful is read out loud to them when they were little. And so parents' hopes, dreams, and desires for their children are that they're going to be academically successful, that they become like avid readers who are curious about the world and want to know more. So what I'm saying is that is knowing that about your ideal clients is also helps to direct what kind of content you create and what kind of freebies you create, what blog posts you write. So you could mention like a statistic, like what is the number one thing you can do to help your child be successful in school, right? That could be your blog post title. And then you could cite the statistic or the research about how reading out loud to your child boosts this. Then you could write a little blurb about like ways that people like can use your books to, I don't know, like making it part of the routine, like bedtime routine, and your top 10 favorite books of the month. So all the books don't need to be yours. So you want to like have your book associated with other big names. So you could say like Ronald Dahl or The Kissing Hand. Oh my God, my kids, I bet my son remembers that book. Or Goodnight Moon. Like put your book up there with these other big titles so that people associate your book with that quality, right? And so you're going to put this in a blog post. Now, so it's very important that your websites have a blog, because I can design it to be architecturally SEO'd through the roof. I can make sure your download speeds are amazing. However, after that piece is done, the foundation of your website has been architecturally and strategically designed for SEO. The second steps are up to you, and that is content creation and backlinks. And then how long people spend on your website and like how many people visit your website and how much time they spend on it. So we want to create valuable content, feature it on your website. So even if you're doing YouTube videos or Facebook Lives, eventually you want to move that to your website in the blog. And then that will create more keyword research or keywords that SEO can find, that Google can find, and it will boost your website. And then by having people read the blog posts on your website, that means that you're having more site visitors visit it and they're spending longer periods of time on your website. And that's going to boost your SEO. So what I recommend as a strategy is you start with the blog post. You write the blog post and then you write a newsletter. And in the newsletter, you can say what the blog post title is, like how to raise avid readers, or the number one thing you can do to help ensure child's academic success, or create a love of learning, something like that. You could have that as your title of your email. And in your email, you write a short antidote, a personal antidote about the blog post. Like, I couldn't believe it when I read this statistic about how much important reading out loud to your child is. And it reminded me of this. And then I know this, you could include a little story about a child who like is an avid reader now. And if you talk to them, it's because their mom read out loud to them every day, every night. And it just made them feel so good about reading. And then, hey, you want to read more so it's short to hook them to want to read more. Read more here, clicks, and it goes to your blog post where they can read the full article. Does that make sense? So you're keeping your newsletter short, have a little personal, entertaining antidote in it, click to read more, take them to your blog post. I feel like I'm giving you guys like
wow, this is gold.
Marketing.
This is gold. I love it. I love it. And you know what? I remember it's making me flash back to when I first started with my website development, and I found somebody and I was like, okay, let's go, like build it, like go do something, create something I can look at. And she was like, let's look at colors. How do you want people to feel? And I was like, what does that have to do with the website? Like, just give me the darn website. I don't want to talk about feelings or colors or anything. But no, she took me along this journey and it took months to get through it. But boy, I can see the value of that in the end. And it sounds like that's what you'd recommend. Or how do you walk people through that journey?
So like I mentioned, I create websites. Like my bread and butter right now is these big high-tech AI companies. And to make myself more accessible to the creative world, I've put together this program where instead of doing just like one-on-one work, it's one-to-many. So it's like a done for you, done with you, self-paced program. And so it's getting ready to launch it. It's not fully ready yet, but it's 3 months, it's 90 days. And the first month is dedicated to getting crystal clear on your brand. And so again, your brand is not your book. Your brand is you, right? Your author. And what kind of, it includes the books that you write. That's your niche. But now we need to create a brand for you as an author and writer of children's books or how-to books or business books. So that first month is spent with doing clarity work around what is the purpose of your business, who do you serve, how do you help them, and why they should buy from you. And it walks through that brand magic formula that I mentioned earlier. So you're going to look at those 3 zones, and then that intersection is the zone of brand magic. And then you're going to ask that question again, how does my brand, the benefit of my brand and experience show up in their lives? And so once you have done that, because actually choosing your colors, your images, your fonts, and your graphics is, for most people, that is not their zone of genius if they are also a coach, a speaker, a children's author, a teacher. So I don't leave that up to the DIY. We have a one-on-one VIP design day, and I go over your brand with you, and just in saying it out loud to someone, we help really clarify it even further. And then in 90 minutes, I go through and together I do mock-ups of your logo, and then you kind of give me some direction on what you like. We look at your images. So if you do have your book, that will be the foundation for a lot of your website. I'm not saying that's your brand, but that's going to be incorporated into your website. And so we will look at that, and then we will choose your color palette based on, so say you've written 3 books, most likely your brand color palette is going to be very basic because it needs to be able to go with several different book covers. And I assume that you're all working with one illustrator so that all of your book covers have a continuity and harmony to them.
Not necessarily.
Okay, so that would be ideal, is if your books had some kind of continuity to the artwork and illustration, so that when people see like 3 of your books with 2 other books, they know which 3 were written by you. So if you find an illustrator you love, I highly recommend using them for all your work. Okay, so anyway, my point is I will create the color palette for you. So what you get from me is done for you logo, font pairings, color palette, and then image strategy session. So that is the other thing that was really sorely like missing on these author websites, was the selection of images. Images are the most powerful brand element of all. You want your images to tell your brand's story. So while the book is your product, that is not your whole brand story, is it? Your brand story is about the experience that the book creates in the lives of the children and their parents, and then the teachers and the librarians and so forth. So the imagery on your website, in addition to having the book, is going to be, okay, wait, I'm going to guess, what should some of the images show in them? What should some of the pictures feature in them?
Kids.
Yes.
Intimacy.
Kids reading books looking happy.
Yeah. Intimacy between their grown-ups and the children.
Yes, exactly. Like nighttime and them reading the book together. And like kids reading the books on their own. Yeah. So you want to have that kind of imagery. And then in addition, someone said they do school visits. So it would be awesome if you could ask a friend to take a really good picture of you reading in front of the classroom with all the kids like, oh, tell me more. Because that shows so that one image communicates so much. Because think about the teachers when they are trying to pick which of these authors do I want to hire. They have a batch of 10. So what are some of the questions in your mind they're thinking that they care about? Is this author, are they going to be able to have a good rapport with my kids? Is this author going to be entertaining for my kids? Is this author going to be able to capture their attention? So if you have a picture, even if it's the group of back of the kids, but the kids, you could also ask the teacher if they would send out a thing to the parents saying, I'm bringing in a guest speaker. They're an author and they're wondering, they'd like to photograph the teacher visit. Can I get your permission to publish your child's picture? And then those who don't, just have them sit on a different side of the circle. It could be at the library. Do it at the library with some of your friends' kids. That's the easiest way. And if you could get video, that would be awesome. Really great. So that shows just by those pictures, without, even though librarians and teachers love to read, like that's the other thing. These websites had so much verbiage on them. And to be honest, I think even people who love to read, when they're online and they're looking at websites, they're scanning, right? So you want to keep your verbiage scannable. So ideally, when you're writing the copy for your homepage and your about page, you want to, especially for your homepage, keep it very brief, use bullet points and like bold your headers so that people can skim it easily and understand the core concept. Then for your blog posts, they can be longer, but still format them so that they're skimmable. But pictures are important because people will look at the pictures to decide whether or not they want to take the time to read. So those images of you with the kids and the kids looking happy and smiling and engaged instantly tells the teacher or the librarian, okay, this author knows what they're doing. They can engage with the kids. Okay, now I'm going to read more about what they have to offer or what the details are.
So lots of people saying, I think I need to revisit my website. Some saying, can you share any kind of like example of a really good website, which I know that you prepared some things for us.
So this is a website that I just mock created as a design base that you guys can use. And I just have to preface it with, I don't have an actual book. When you guys work with your illustrators, I highly recommend you ask for a few things, and that would be your color palette hex codes, your font files, the illustration elements, and then you could use those in your website. But I don't have those elements, so it's kind of a little bit flat. But that's okay because, like I said, we want to showcase the book, but then we also want to present it in a professional way. We don't want it to feel like it's a kid's website. So here in the banner, you have your logo and then obviously a few things. And since we know that kids want fun stuff and extras, I created a fun stuff. I actually made a tab for it. We have an About the Author section, a Grab the Freebie section, and Contact section. And this is just a one-pager for those of you who are launching. But then once you have your one-pager down, then I highly recommend building out the rest of your website where you have the blog. And I'll talk about a couple of things as well. So here, when they first land on it, up here at the top, you can see the messaging is a little different than some of the other author websites that you may have looked at, because we are telling the story about you and your brand to your ideal audience, parents and teachers. And so you're going to want to include something like, from the beloved children's author, setting up in their minds that, okay, this is an author, like children love this author's work. And then in your quick description, very brief, talk about how the book is going to help the child. So you might want to think about, what are my core values? Why do I write the kind of books I write? Do they have lessons in them? Is it to spark the child's curiosity? Is it to create tender moments with their parents? Think about, like, what is it that you hope the book achieves for the parents and for the children? So maybe it has little life lessons in it about how to get along with others. So you could write a little thing here, like a new tale filled with little life lessons to help children navigate social drama at school, something like that, And then, of course, you want to have testimonials. And so it could be from like other authors. Like if you don't already, which you probably do, I would get into some author pods where you support each other, read each other's work, and write testimonials about them. And then like help each, like you could work in groups and offer like, oh, we're doing a summer program together, sign up. It's these 3 authors. Okay, so then it's going to take you down to talk about, highlight this book more. So this is where you would have like a description about the book and what it's about, a quote. And then again, it finishes with what is the big benefit that my ideal audience is going to get? How is it going to make their life better? So like make story time magical, or, whatever the theme of your book is, pull out like a little nugget from that is going to make their children's lives better, help them learn something. Yeah. So when you're creating your website, yes, it's informational about the book. It's going to position you as the go-to expert author. And it's about creating that deep, empathetic connection with your ideal audience. I put buy the ebook, even though I don't know exactly what form you guys sell it on. But if you work with me, we're going to build out a store page where you can have, I don't know exactly the strategy, but if you want to just like earn all the money from the sale, ebooks and downloadable ebooks is the way to go. But then I know some people want to rank on Amazon and things. What I would recommend is like do your book launch and your promotion to rank on Amazon. And then after you've ranked, then have direct people to your own website to buy the book so that you earn more money. I added this. I don't know, like when, if you win prizes, like I'm sure that.
No, you got it. Yeah, you definitely have it right.
I mean, these are like dreams, but like you can start small, right? If this is the first book you've written, I would recommend April. Maybe she already does this. There could be the Book of the Year Little Labradoodle Publishing Award. There could be the New Writer of the Year, whatever. She could create a few awards with her publishing business. And then you could put those on your website. And then, of course, you want to submit your work to all the local publications. I mean, like in Santa Cruz, there's like this publication called The Good Times, and then you can vote for your favorite people in different categories. I don't know if author's on there, but I hope it is. You could get everyone to vote for you. So even if you can't get like the Newbery Medal, you can still find ways to like showcase you as the award-winning author. Does that make sense? This is for this book in particular. So I did some heavy-duty research into like what librarians want and parents and kids. And so it helps if there's like some kind of interactive element on your website. So I did a who's who, meet the characters, and it's just like when you hover on it, you could tell like a little backstory about the character of the book.
Oh, I love that.
This is an example of something that you could do to make the website also like more engaging and fun. Like if the parents with the child, they can say, oh, look, here, this little horse's name is Plum Pie. They could tell them about it a bit. And then you're going to talk about yourself. So again, even though this is the Meet the Author section, we're not writing to tell them about us. Even though this is the About You section, the goal of this section is to establish your expert and credibility and create deep connection with your audience. So you basically want to think, if I was the parent, teacher, or librarian, how does this matter to me? Why is this important to me? So I put together a couple of examples, and forgive me all, I am not the writer, so don't criticize. Don't judge. So like you could say, by the way, I write this in first person or third. I chose on this website example to do everything in third person because I have a hard time saying I am the expert. It's much easier to say like, Sandy Shaw is known as the expert in brand design and whatever. So this is third person. So like Sandy is an award-winning children's book author. Then like she is known for, and then what you want to say you're known for, again, you want to think about, how does my book make the lives better for parents or teachers? So thinking about what do those parents or teachers, what are their big goals, dreams, and desires for kids experiencing this book? So I just wrote, creating rich and vivid worlds that capture the imaginations of young minds. So it's talking about how the kids are going to experience the book. Here's another one, like children's book. Sandy Shaw's children's books are like beloved by little ones and their parents for their captivating blah, blah, blah. Or weaving in little learning lessons that instill values and attitudes. Because a lot of times parents and teachers want to know that their kids are going to learn something. So so whatever it is, like just ask yourself, what are the 3 goals I have with my book? Like, what am I hoping the children get out of them? Am I trying to like teach them about a certain subject matter? Am I trying to help them in some way or help them learn or discover? So just ask yourself, like, what do I want the kids to get out of reading my book? And then you can talk about what you take a stand for as an author. What is your big why in why you write? Why did you get inspired to write in the first place? What was it that drove you? Like it could be, so for example, like Sandy Shaw deeply believes in the power of like the books, of the stories to help children see themselves in the characters. So it could be like, I was bullied as a child. And so I want to help children learn these like lessons and ways that they can navigate this so that they don't suffer the way I did or something like that. But like, what do you take a stand for as an author? So what did I write in this example? Oh, I thought about me as a parent and what I loved about reading. And so I was like, if I was going to write a children's book, like my big why is I want to give parents and kids that same thing I have with my kids, that like bedtime story time ritual. And so I wrote about that. And then you could finish with like, that is why I'm so passionate about writing these stories and sharing them with the world. That is what the other authors' websites I noticed. It's like, I grew up in Michigan and then I went here and then I worked in tech and now I'm writing children's stories. You'll have a brief author's bio on your about page. You can have it in your press kit, but it's not front and center on your homepage.
All right.
The whole purpose of this is to create that like deep empathetic connection with your ideal audience, letting them know that you get them, that you understand what their hopes and dreams and desires are, what they struggle with, and that your book is going to help solve those problems or help them get the big things that they want, help them get those desires, fulfill them.
I had somebody from Fiverr. I hired somebody to create my website. And so for me, it's a problem because every time I need to fix something, I have to go back to that person. So number one, is there a website creator, I don't know what they're called, that you recommend? That's number one. Like, is there somewhere where I can create my own I can go back and do it again, but that's easy and I can do it myself?
Yes. So the website platform I recommend for everyone, and I even build my AI tech companies' websites on it, is Wix. There's a learning curve. Let me tell you, there is a big learning curve, but it is definitely the most intuitive, easiest website platform to learn. Use Wix, never use WordPress. Okay. The reason is with WordPress, you have to manage the back end and be on top of it. Your security certificates, that your plugins are all integrated and certified to work together, because they will crash. They can get hacked. And nobody likes being handcuffed to their designer or developer to have to make quick changes. So that is why I recommend going with Wix. It is easy to use. Plus, it is the most robust platform out there. It has everything built in. You can do email drip automations. You can host an online course, which I highly recommend all of you create some kind of deeper experience for the kids to engage with your book and host it using Wix's online course platform. It's really good. And then it has like built-in e-commerce. It has a built-in image library. It has built-in everything. It will make your life so easy. And the reason I recommend going with me is because this little website took me 20 hours. Do you really want to spend 20 hours? And I know how to do everything already. So if you hire me, I work with you and then I do a custom design layout for you. You don't need to know how to build the whole website, but you do need to be empowered with the know-how on how to make changes on the fly, how to duplicate pages and reuse them as templates. And yeah, I teach you how to do that.
I'm also a singer and a performer, and I'm also writing a musical. With my website, I try to incorporate everything, but I mean, I can't imagine having an individual website for each thing that I do. It would be silly, right? Like I should just keep everything in one website, right?
Okay, so what I would recommend is if you have two different audiences, two different ideal client audiences, you should have different websites. So for example, I have a house in Costa Rica, and then I have my brand strategy and website design business. They have two different audiences, two different purposes, two different everythings. So they have to be separate. If what you are writing about and your music and everything you're creating in that sense is umbrellaed and all thematically work together, you can have one website. I'm so sorry. Because the reason that you need two websites is with your branded website, it needs to be crystal clear. Who am I? Who do I serve? What is my business? And how does it help make the lives of my ideal audience better? And if you have a website with different purposes and different audiences, and you're writing for like all these different people, it's going to confuse your website visitor. And when you confuse people, they click off immediately. There's this famous quote, when you confuse, you lose. So we need to be crystal clear. I would love to work with you guys. However, if you're working with someone else or you have your own website that you want to just improve, I totally support you and cheerlead you to just, however you do it, make sure you have a brand that communicates you and your book and purpose and attracts your ideal audience. And then the strategies I'm sharing, you can share them with your developers. I want you to be as successful as possible. That's all I care about. So anything that you're learning here, you're welcome to take it back to your developer and say, hey, can we add this section or can we change this? Or, it's all good. And that's awesome. Like, I think you're right. It's just really important to work with someone that you really have a good rapport with and who's there to help you to be as successful as possible.
When you speak of crystal clear, and you gave the three things, your core values, why am I selling it, and your ideal client, those types of things. But whenever you speak of crystal clear, do you have some questions that we can ask ourselves? Or do we just need to, dig down deep into those three things?
I'm glad you brought this up because I need to clarify what I meant. So first of all, the three things you need to get clear on to do your brand is the foundation of your business. Like you need to clarify the 4 pillars of your business, who you are, what you do, who you serve, and why I should buy from you. Then you want to think about the other category, which is your product or solution that you offer, okay? And the industry you're in, because it needs to make sense. So many times I see coaches choose brand colors that actually don't match the industry that they're in. And so it causes a cognitive disconnect that's subconscious, and it causes people to click out. So you want to make sure that your brand aligns with your business sector and business subsector. And you want to think about the product yourself or solution. And then you're going to evaluate. There's like a whole series of questions to think about and reflect on for your clarifying your product and the benefits and the unique solution. And then you want to clarify your ideal audience. So when you go to clarify your ideal audience, people generally start with the demographics. And then you also want to dive down though, like what's going to make your brand stand apart and the content you write is when you think about what are my clients' biggest fears? What are their hopes and dreams? What are their goals and desires? What keeps them up at night? And then you're going to think about how does my product and brand solve those issues? And then that is what you can write about those things. That is a content treasure trove. So you're looking for the intersection of the three when you go to write or create anything. Then the intersection of the three plus the question of how does my brand, the benefits of my book, like the experience play out in my clients' lives. So basically like that story time. We talked about a few of them already. Like it helps them with their parenting. It helps them to, get free time. So you want to think about answering that brand magic question. How does like the product or service and the benefits of my book play out in my clients' lives to make their lives better? So what I would recommend, if any of you want to do a deep dive on this, please join my Brand Magic Challenge, because the whole first day, it's a 3-day challenge. And the first day, we are going to dive into discovering your zone of brand magic and that question. And you're going to get a handout with all the questions that you can think about to help you reflect and clarify your brand and how it makes your clients' lives better. And then the second day, we're going to talk about how to choose your main brand colors based on color psychology. And then I'm going to go a step further for any of you creatives, because you also need to think about what are the current visual elements that you're working with in imagery, which will be the book covers, right? And then on day 3, I'm going to talk about, actually, it's a lot like this, how to use your brand and website and some conversion strategies. For all of you, I imagine your conversion strategies are 1, sell your book, 2, grow your email list. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about how you can do that with your website and some strategies, which I actually just shared tonight. So anyway, if you come to day 3, you'll get to learn more. Just like I mentioned before, shoot me an email, sandy@brandifyhq.com, and then I'll be sure to put you on my list to let you know when registration's open. Anyone who's interested, here's my email. And like I said, I'm in like a few weeks, I'm doing a 3-day boot camp. I would love for you guys all to be part of it. And then I'll be launching this founders program at a deeply discounted rate. 2 and 3, if you have questions or you want me to do a website audit or a brand audit, email me. Again, sandy@brandifyhq.com, and just let me know if you're interested in any of those things. I'm happy to reach out. Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah, I would love for you guys to all be part of it. Yeah, that'd be fun. And like I said, even if it's just a question about like a website audit, you don't have to like work with me or anything. I want to help. So maybe I could come back and do a website audit with April. The thing is, though, I have to say, I don't like doing website audits that much because I've been told I have no poker face. And so when I see something I don't like, I cringe, like, ooh, and I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So, yeah, I could do like a website audits. I could show you a couple of bad website audits that aren't like yours. But yeah, I don't want to hurt your feelings. I'd rather just say like, this is what you should do. Okay. Some of you may be like ready to dive in and just hire one-on-one custom work. And that is for a 5-page website is $5,000. Then I'm also getting ready to launch my founders program. A founders program means that it's the first time you're launching it. And it means the program's not perfect. And I'm building that out now too. I'm getting ready to launch that at the end of May, the 3-month program. And I would love for you to be a part of it. So like I mentioned, month 1 is going to be dedicated to clarifying your brand. And then I design your brand visuals for you. Month 2 is going to be writing your brand messaging and the copy for your website. And then month 3, I build out your website for you. I build out a custom designed website for you with your brand elements and colors, the sections, the flow, everything. But then the way that I'm able to do this at such a discounted price is that you guys switch out your own images and you write your own text and copy, and you add that to the website. So you'll be getting like a done for you website, and all you do is switch out images and then the text. And then when you're finished with it, you submit it back to me, and we're going to have another meeting, and I'm going to go through and do a cleanup because things will get out of alignment, things will get moved, and I will be able to just fix it all for you to make sure it looks perfect. And so that program for the founders, it's basically $3,500. It's $3,497. And it includes your brand, your website. You guys will be the experts on writing. I'm going to hire someone to also help me support you with this, your messaging and your copy. And then you will also learn some integrated marketing strategies on how to use your brand and website and begin marketing it. Because after you have your brand and website, you have to put it out there, right? You have to start marketing it and then growing your audience. And then how do you pull them back in, capturing those leads? And then we're going to write out an email sequence so you can begin nurturing them. And we'll talk about blog topics that will nurture them and basically create like a whole client experience so that you build your know, like, and trust factor with your ideal audience. And again, the whole point is to turn your one-time buyers into raving super fans. So if you guys are interested in that too, just let me know. Shoot me an email because I have 3 people in it currently. And right now, like some people are just signing up and going at their own pace. But ideally, I would like to take people through as a cohort as well.
Lots of great information today. Really appreciate it. This is wonderful.
This isn't offered to anybody else, but because I've already created this, if you're interested in a complete DIY template, basically I'll send you this, and then you can just change out the colors and add your own images. And you don't need like a whole brand, and you already know how to write your messaging because you're all authors. I can also talk to April about offering this as just a DIY design base that you can use as a template and just selling that at very reasonable price. If you're interested in that, email April and then email me too, like, hey, I'd be interested in a template, and then we can figure something out.
You are just a wealth of information. We have to have you back.
Oh, thank you. If you guys are interested, you can find me at brandifyhq.com. And if you click on the Facebook button, it will take you to my Facebook group page, which is just Facebook groups /BrandifyHQ. It's a private group. And then every Thursday, I do a training on like branding, strategy, or website design. So I'd love to see you in the group as well.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, April. Good luck to you all. I'm excited.
All right. Thanks.